Yo, we live on location. Me and the blackest one connecting over these towers. We going virtual today, man. Look, we got a very, very special guest today, man. The pride of the South Sudan is in the building with us. We got a Duke representative, one of the all-time greats from the Chicago Bulls, a former All-Star, one of the biggest humanitarians there is out there. We got Luol Deng in the building, people.
Yes, sir.
Tap in. We appreciate you pulling up.
Nah, definitely, man. Respect. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, sir.
First of all, we praise and salute you, man, and we definitely appreciate you coming on the show and rocking with us, man.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. I'm a big fan of the show, and thank you guys for having me, man. I'm happy to be here, to be honest.
When you first got to the league, who's the first person to bust your ass?
I knew this was going to be the first question. I always tell people, to me, the one guy that always stood out to me was LeBron. My path with LeBron has been since I came to the U.S. He's there. I came to the U.S. He's the best player in high school. He's a year ahead of me, but, we came up around the same time. But I always tell people it's kind of like, when I played with Derrick Rose, his MVP year, with Steph Curry. And so there's certain guys in the league, their 2 points are just different than everybody else's 2 points. Yeah. And with LeBron, with the fans and everything, whether you're playing him in Cleveland or you're playing at home, every basket he scores is like 10 points on you. The whole crowd, it could be a fadeaway jump shot. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player, obviously, but the crowd was always, LeBron's 30 or 40 points seem like 60 points, especially when you get home and you watch the highlights.
Yeah.
And it's all you just playing defense.
Yeah.
So I always tell people I enjoyed playing against LeBron, but I always say he's the one guy that, you looked forward to playing him because you knew it was going to be a tough one.
South Sudan, how did you start playing basketball? Where did it all start from the beginning to get you to start playing basketball?
Yeah, man. It's a crazy story. For me, everybody knows, obviously, being from South Sudan, I grew up as a refugee. So we fled. I fled my homeland at the age of 5, seeking for a better life. Ended up, the way it works is you just kind of get out. And I ended up in a bordering country, which is Egypt. I grew up in Egypt. A lot of people don't know that, but I grew up in Alexandria, Egypt. And I was a soccer player. I was playing football. My brothers, we had this one church that the whole community would meet at. And we would just go there on Sundays. There was a basketball court. And guys would just play around. I was young at the time. And then one summer, Manu Ball took a vacation to go to Egypt. And when he came to visit the refugees settlement from South Sudan, he started, teaching basketball, and he realized there was so much talent. And he ended up extending his stay and teaching my brothers how to play basketball. And my older brother took it to heart. He learned everything and started drilling me from the age of 7 with everything that he was learning from Manu, dribbling, shooting, and all that stuff. We never knew any of that stuff until Manu was kind of, teaching and coaching, and everyone, just the whole community fell in love with basketball. And that's how I ended up playing.
So basically, if not for a chance vacation by Manute Bol going to Egypt, we may not even know who Luol Deng is.
Yeah, no, and it's. I always tell people the same thing that I'm doing because I know where I came from. I came from, somebody who was trying to encourage people and motivate them and just, just give them something to be excited about. And for us, South Sudanese, Manute was everything. We celebrated Manute because he put us on the map. And he was so proud and carried himself with such an honor and everything. So when Manute showed up, everything stops, whatever Manute wants to do. So he wanted to focus on basketball. And, because of that, I ended up, being who I am because my brothers were taught by him.
That's crazy.
Meeting Manute, did that influence you and your family to leave Egypt and go to London?
No, you see, what happened was I would go anywhere. When I say that, it's like a lot of refugees, when I say that, they understand. The way it works is, and I know this whole thing with, politics now, but a lot of people don't understand. The way it works is if you're a refugee in any country, you seek for, asylum. Basically, you just apply, whether it's UNHCR, World Food Program, whoever, your family applies, you give in all the papers and all the background check and everything. And all these countries, they monitor and they will take, your family. So I ended up, my family, I came from a large family, but luckily we ended up being taken to the UK, England. And at the time I was 9 years old, about to be 10, and there was no, for my parents, there's no. It's just, here is a better opportunity. Let's go there and see what works out for us. And, that's really, I didn't go to the UK because of basketball. I just went for a better life.
Oh, okay.
How was that transition for you? Like, you know what I'm saying? You just starting to learn ball, and then it's like you got to go to UK.
It was the hardest thing. I always tell people I never spoke English. I was fluent in Arabic. I'm fluent in Dinka, which is my tribal language. But, going from Sudan at the time to Egypt is not a huge change. You're still in the continent. You're still in Africa, even though the culture is different. You're going from, a predominantly African country to an Arab country, which is still in Africa. But, the culture and everything, you have to adjust to it. But I remember when I landed in the UK, and I've never been in a place where I'm seeing so much glass. I'm seeing buildings that are huge, buses and whatnot. It was a culture shock. And it took a while to really, to even make friends or speak to anyone, because I didn't know a single word of English. I didn't know how to say hello, nothing. And as soon as we got there, 2 weeks into it, I had to go to school and just figure it all out.
You started playing for the youth national team. Did that kind of open you up a little bit? Because I know I tell my sons, man, if you play basketball, you're gonna make friends. You're gonna find you out of the 12 guys, at least 2 or 3 of them gonna be your boys, and you know what I'm saying, and just showing him the other side of basketball instead of being just strictly basketball. You get so much more from basketball. So playing in the youth nationals, did that help you kind of, start creating friends and start being a little comfortable with yourself?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think sports is a language by itself. And for 100%. Me, I couldn't speak. So at the time I was playing football, soccer, and I was really, really good at soccer. And that was my dream, was to be a soccer player. So the only way that I knew that I can make friends or be cool in a school is to really dominate in soccer and be the best player I could be. And that's how I was making friends. I started playing basketball at a club called Brixton Top Cats. And that changed my whole life. When I joined Brixton, I was still in and out of basketball. I wasn't really serious about it until I came to the U.S., at the age of 14. And how that worked out really is because my sister had a scholarship, because my sister was good at basketball. My parents wanted me to get out of England and, go and focus, be in a boarding school and just see, what I can do with the opportunity that I was given.
Yeah, so they really loved you in England, man. They kind of got a picture right here. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but up here, I don't know if you can see it.
What was that, on some money? What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I can't believe y'all put that out. A lot of people don't know that, but I'm on the £5 note. Obviously, like I said, playing in Brixton, I come from a neighborhood that needed a lot of role models and a lot of people who could influence the youth and be an example. So they, at the time they reached out to me and said, we want to put you on the money. And,
got his own money.
The boy got his own money.
I was about to say that. I had to live through that, being African and being on the money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I heard it all, man. So, honestly, it's an honor, but also, to to come out of Brixton and to be an example to all these young guys that, just working hard, given an opportunity, you can influence a lot of people. So I'm really excited about that.
When did you hit your growth spurt? Like, was that before you came to the U.S.? Was it when you were in England? Was it before?
I was always tall as a kid. As a kid, I was tall. I was, all my family's tall. My brother is 7 feet. My other brother is 6'6", 6'8". We're all tall. So I was always, and it kind of bothered me, to be honest, when I was younger, because I wanted to be a soccer player, like I said. So
right.
it always bothered me. I was the tallest and so on. It's not till I started playing basketball that I wanted to be even taller and taller. But I've always been tall for my age. So I would say probably around, between 11 to 14 or 15, that's when I hit my growth spurt.
What made the decision for you to move to the U.S.? Did your whole family come over, or did you just come over to the U.S.?
Nah, it was, my brother at the time, a lot of people don't know this, you guys probably know, but my brother played for UConn. And, my brother was part of that championship team in 99. I hope I'm getting it right.
I played with your brother at the Kentucky Derby.
See,
Kentucky Derby All-American game. I played with his brothers.
Yeah, so my brother went to St. Thomas More. Yeah, Joe, yeah. So my brother went to St. Thomas More. And I always tell people this, man. My brother had a lot of injuries, but my brother was a way better player than I am. And because of how good my brother was, I was given that opportunity at a young age, because everyone was like, look, he has a chance to be as good as his brother. And when I got the scholarship to go to Blair Academy in New Jersey, my high school coach, Joe Montagna at the time, didn't even know how good I could be or how good I am until I came to school and I started scrimmaging with the guys.
How was it when you got there? When you got the who did you play? You played with Charlie there, right? Villanueva.
Yeah, first it was Royale Ivy. You know Royale.
Okay, Royale too.
Royale was a senior. I always tell people this story. When I left England, going to a boarding school, I left with nothing but a book bag. And when I arrived there, my coach was like, "Yo, that's all you got?" and I was like, "Yeah, I thought it's a boarding school. Y'all supposed to give me everything." And he's like, "Nah, that's not how it works. You're supposed to come with everything." But I remember Royale showed up at my dorm and he gave me a pair of his shoes. The Kobe Adidas, the Crazy Eights.
Right.
It was my first pair, orange one, because, at the time, Royale was coming from Cardozo, Queens. He's doing a PG year at my school, and Royale kind of became my mentor. And that's really how it started for me. It started hooping, and then everyone was telling me how good I was. And I started being, serious about basketball.
Well, yeah, man, y'all go back that far,
crazy.
man. That's some good history right there, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So you played with Charlie V, though. You got a chance to play with Charlie V too, though, right?
Yeah, man. I always tell people I'm as good as I am because of Charlie. When Charlie showed up, and I always tell people this, he came my sophomore year. And I couldn't believe how good and how talented Charlie is. And we were roommates in high school. And, we would play pickup and one-on-one and whatnot. And Charlie would just destroy me. You could ask everyone in practice. And I'm just, I'm so competitive every day. I'm like, I got to be as good as this guy. And I'm working so hard. But he was so gifted, man. And, it helped me so much. Pushing each other and trying to be as good as him, that we both ended up having the career that we had.
Yeah.
You coming from England, now you in Jersey, and like, how was that culture shock? Cause this kind of like, you should be seeing some of New York too when you there. So like, it's like that whole New Jersey, New York thing coming from England. How was that culture shock?
And was your English better by the time you came over?
Yeah, by then, I'm fluent in English. I had a British accent, a heavy British accent. Everyone was making fun of me.
Right? How does that?
So even everyone would tell me to speak and whatnot. It was annoying, but it was it was a huge culture change because I went from being in London, which is a very diverse place. And, I'm in Brixton and whatnot, into a boarding school that predominantly a white school. And I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to being away from my family. I wasn't used to, being dependent basically. And after the first month, I remember I went to my high school coach and I told him I want to go back home. I wanted to just give up everything and go back and be with my family. But luckily I stuck with it. Guys like Royale and Charlie coming on. And like you said, I was spending a lot of time in New York with them. I was staying at Royale's house every break. In Queens, I was staying with Charlie, playing in ISA and whatnot. So, that kind of just it helped me so much because I got to know what this culture is, and playing in New York, being with Royale, being with Charlie, you're playing against, Lenny Cook, you're playing against all these guys. So, right away I became, exposed to that kind of basketball, that kind of, competitive nature, attitude and whatnot. And that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Like not only are you in the U.S. now, but they are ranking you high amongst like number 2 amongst the best players like LeBron and all these other guys. You get named to the McDonald's All-American, and it was in Cleveland. I think I spoke at that.
Yeah, you did.
I spoke at that.
You in New York.
I was dogging Duke up in there. I spoke at that. But just to hear that you got here, you got this far, and then, you start being amongst the best players and you getting all the praise of your game and how people thinking you're good. How was that for you?
No, it was amazing, man, because, when I first came over, there's always this stigma about being an international player. And you're just taught to fear for no reason, if you go to the US, they're good. You're watching highlights and always wanted to, be as good as everybody in the US. So when I came over and started, scrimmaging, my high school coach set me down and basically just told me, you're probably the best 14-year-old I've ever seen. You have an opportunity to be, really, really good. And I took that to heart. And once the rankings started coming out, like I told you, from day one, LeBron is number 1. And I remember when he came in the country, I was like 150 something or something like that. And every day, we would play games and go to AU tournaments and so on and log on and try to see the rankings.
You steady moving up.
And you just keep moving up, and you're just like, man, I got to catch up to LeBron,
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're number 2, and then you realize you ain't catching up to LeBron.
You ain't passing LeBron. You get it. Stop right there.
It's good to aim there, but you ain't passing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot because
chasing him.
Yeah, chasing all these guys, and having Charlie as my roommate, and Charlie was all about that. Charlie was just like, yo, man, we got to get these guys, this guy's ranked ahead of us. And that was Charlie's attitude, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
How was it for you being recruited by the schools and all of that? Like once all of that come, you get all of the accolades, and then, during that process, all of these schools start recruiting you. How was that process for you?
Hold on. Did you think about going straight out of high school?
Yeah. My family weren't ready for it. My dad didn't understand it. You always hear these jokes about African parents, but it's really true. My parents were just focused, they were just focused on school. Everything is about being a doctor and a lawyer and whatnot, because that's just thrown in your face.
That's reality.
So that's what they wanted for me. So, when they started to realize how good I was, they didn't want to hear about going straight to the NBA. And I remember being recruited by all these the schools, and my dad was just like, yo, what's the best school? And I'm thinking, like basketball wise, and he's like, nah, my dad is calling me saying Harvard, these schools reaching out and whatnot. And I remember Coach K took a visit and sat down with my dad, and it really, that visit changed everything about, my dad's approach. He didn't want to say it, but I knew he wanted me to go to Duke. The way he talked about Coach K and what Coach K was telling him about me and whatnot. And Coach K is so good at recruiting. He never said anything to my father about how good I am in basketball. He just kept telling him about, the opportunities that I would get by, going to school like Duke. And that really opened my dad's eyes. So, and, I always tell people the first time my parents ever seen me play basketball was at the Final Four. That's the first time my dad ever seen me play basketball was at the Final Four. And the first time my mom ever seen me play basketball was the first game of the season against the New Jersey Nets when I was playing with the Bulls. That's the first time they ever seen me play basketball.
Wow.
Could it have been any other school that almost got you besides Duke?
Yeah, Charlie and I almost went to Indiana.
Really?
Okay. I took 5 visits, but I remember my visit in Indiana. We sat down with Coach Mike, and I remember Charlie just saying straight up, he's like, "Yo, if Luol comes here, I'm coming here." And everyone at the table just stopped and looked at me, and I'm like, yeah, listen, I got to make some phone calls. I can't make this decision. And I remember my Duke visit was like a month later. I went back to high school and I tried to cancel my Duke visit. And my high school coach kept telling me that would be disrespectful. You gave your word to the coach and so on, so take your visit. And after I took my Duke visit, I just, I felt like this is it. I just fitted in the system so well, and they had no other freshmen coming in, and they had J.J. Redick and Shavlik Randolph and Sheldon Williams, Daniel, and I thought, this is it. I can go there, win a chip, and put my name in the draft.
Coach K is a legendary coach. You know what I'm saying? You got to go to their school and you played for him for a year. How was that experience?
The Duke fans, you feel the people who hate Duke and you feel the people who love Duke. Yeah. It's like a 50-50 thing. So how was that?
And y'all team was kind of like a rock star team, so you felt all of that.
JJ Redick was all world.
Nah, it's an experience, man. For me growing up, my first basketball tape that a friend of mine gave me a VCR tape when we were in the UK when I started playing basketball, and it was a tape of Grant Hill. And I'm watching all this Grant Hill highlights, and they're going back to Duke and what he did at Duke and Coach K. So when I went to Duke, it was really because of Coach K and Grant Hill. I wanted to be Grant Hill. I wanted to be coached by Coach K, and I kind of envisioned myself of being there. But I never really knew that after going to Duke that I would leave after 1 year. The whole reason why I wanted Duke was to build a legacy like Grant Hill did and have that relationship with Coach K. But I always tell people, I'm one of the first to leave after 1 year. And that relationship at first didn't end well with Coach K. It took a while to get that relationship back up. And now we're very close, and I kind of, I really appreciate that because, leaving after 1 year, going to Duke, that wasn't normal. That wasn't
Corey McGarry might be the only one who did it before you.
Exactly.
How was it running into Charlie in the Final Four? Yeah. Your high school teammate, you run into UConn in the Final Four. It's you and them, and you got to match up with him, and y'all got to play against each other on one of the biggest stages there can be.
I always tell people this. I could never rewind the time back. But, in life, you have certain things that happen that you cannot take back. And no matter what you do, you just got to face it. And this is one of those things because, Charlie and I were roommates for 3 years. And our dream was, to be in a
together.
Yeah. And to win a chip and whatnot. We won in high school. You want to win in college. You want to win in the NBA. And also my brother went to UConn, and I was supposed to go to UConn. And I kind of didn't go. So I went somewhere else. So that game, even the way I came out that first half, I came out 16 points in the first half, Final Four. Just I wanted it so bad. And when we lost, till now, I tell people it's the one loss that I've lost many times, but that's the one loss that every time I think of losing, that's the first thing that came to mind. It made me better. And I'm so happy for Charlie. But at the same time, every time this comes up, so, and I guarantee you, as soon as Charlie sees this interview, he's going to message me or send me a picture of the ring. And he's always sending me a picture of that ring. and it's cool, it's cool because in a way I'm happy because he has it and I know what, we went through and how hard we worked. But also at the same time, I kind of enjoy that. It kind of like, it humbles you and it makes you work harder. You're not supposed to have everything in life, but it's how you respond to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Talking about you leaving after 1 year, what did your parents say? Because you just said they all about school and all that stuff, and you like, yeah, I'm about to burn out and go to the NBA. What was that conversation like of you about to leave school after 1 year?
Come on, D. Once they saw that, I'm going to be a lottery pick. That changed a lot of things.
That changed their mind. Oh yeah, they changed that can change it.
It changed a lot of things. It was like, are you sure? Are you sure he's going to be lottery?
Right. Let's make sure it is first.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, maybe it is time to go. You know what I mean? So I think they were okay with it once they understood that I'm doing it for the right reasons. And my parents have always been, what do you want to do? We know what's best for you, but what do you want to do? And it was fine. And, they were with me at the draft and so on. And, that's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah. Tell us about that draft process, man. Yeah. Like you sitting at the table with your family, finna get ready to walk up on that stage and shake the commissioner's hands, like, man,
sir.
Looking at your family and just seeing like how far y'all done came into this moment. Because I know a lot of people say when we go to the draft, it's like you kind of flashback of everything you done been through before that to get to that moment.
Yeah, it's insane, man. I always tell people I was drafted at 18, obviously. I was 18 years old. But if you rewind just 8 years, you just go back 8 years. I'm a refugee in Egypt, 10 years old, just playing around. I don't know, I never seen an NBA game on TV. I've never had any of that. And sitting there in a green room, I'm on a table with Manu and I'm about to get drafted. And I remember, I saw, as soon as they said my name, I remember my mom got up and she started doing, our tribal chant and dances. And if you look back at that tape, I just got up and I grabbed my mom. And, I'm young. And at the time, I'm just like, I'm thinking, no, mom, don't do too much.
We on national TV.
But now when I look back, I wish I even did my tribal dance with her. Like things like that. But I remember looking across the table and seeing how emotional Manute was. And for me, that took me back to, why we do the things that we do. Manute never did it because he thought that, there's a kid there, a 10-year-old kid who might be drafted in 8 years. He just did it to just provide an opportunity. And it was real. It was real to, to look at it like in 8 years, here you are, you're being a lottery pick. You went to Duke. It happened so fast. But I also remember just the fact that I have an opportunity to change my life and my family's life.
Yeah, that's what's up.
After you get up there and get drafted, what was it like when you got the call from the team and they telling you, that you got to come down and next day you got to fly private up to Chi-Town? You feel me? Was that your first PJ?
Yeah, no, it was. And what's crazy is, I got traded right on draft night.
Yeah.
Right.
So I always tell people I did a couple interviews. I was confused because I knew the pick was bought by the Bulls. But at the same time, when I was drafted, I had to wear a Phoenix hat.
Yeah.
And I did a couple interviews as if I'm going to Phoenix. It was confusing. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, answering like knowing that I'm just bullshit. Excuse my language.
No, you stay.
I'm just there. I'm just like, yo, y'all know, I'm going to Chicago, but they just asking me about Steve Nash and Amari and, and I'm just answering questions. And then the next thing, 5 minutes later, I had to switch my hat and, talk about going to Chicago. And the next day I'm on a plane with, Ben Gordon and Chris Duhon, which, we were teammates, at Duke. So that kind of helped a lot.
My dog, C. Du. Shout out C. Duhon, man.
Amazing guy.
When you first got to Chicago, right? You going to the Bulls? Did you ever have any of them moments when you looking up at the banners, the jerseys, the MJ, the statue out front? Did you ever have any of that? Like, damn, like I'm about to put this jersey on, coming behind what these folks have done.
Nah, it's crazy, man. Starting to play basketball, all we knew, even when I was in Egypt, is just the Bulls. Michael Jordan was just so dominant. And I've never for a second thought that I will ever be in the U.S. I never even thought I would leave Africa, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you hear about, Michael Jordan, you got people wearing the Bulls. That's all everybody was talking about at the time. And then all of a sudden, I'm drafted by the Bulls. I'm going to the arena. I remember I used to look up to the rafters before every game. And, and I just couldn't believe it that this is what it is. And, even now I look back and I'm just like, I'm in the top, 10 in so many categories. And I never thought that would happen. And you know how it is, even in the NBA, even if you get drafted by Chicago or anyone, you might be there for a year or two and get traded. You know how that business is. But I ended up playing 10 years for one organization. It's such a blessing.
Super blessing.
So when you got there your rookie year, this is the highest level of basketball. How did you feel like you hold it up? You got right in. You was a solid player. Like, one thing I always liked about your game is, like, you did everything. Like, you played D. You can hit a jumper. You can dribble. You tall. You know what I'm saying? You physical. But how was it when you got to the highest level? Because, you kind of testing your stuff. This is the greats of the greats. This is where you see the guys that's supposed to be the best in the world.
Yeah. Now, and you guys know this, man. I always say this. I think when I look back at the NBA, or even now when I watch the NBA, there's certain guys that are so good at certain things. You got guys who could shoot. You got guys who could just score, flat out score. For me coming into the NBA, I was trying to figure it out. Like in high school, I could score anytime I wanted. In college, the same thing. When I got to the NBA, I was always watching games and figuring out players, how guys play. I always wanted to fit in. I always wanted to be that guy who, if I'm playing with you guys, okay, what does D Miles or what does Q Rich do well, and how can I compliment them? In a way, if you look at it, it's like, okay, it worked out for me, but sometimes you need to have that killer mindset where you just say, well, I don't care. But for me, it was more like, I'm going to figure it out. If, like playing before DRose came, playing with Ben Gordon and so on, my game was so different. When DRose came in, I just wouldn't stop moving because I knew he had so much attention, with Joe Kim cutting all the time and so on. I was always trying to figure out, how can I be relevant? And then, how do I just figure it out? If you give me minutes, I'm just going to figure it out. That was really my whole game. It wasn't about, let me go out and get 20 points. It was more so like, I need you to feel like you need me. I need to guard LeBron. I go out there and play as hard as I can so the next time we play, the coach could be like, yo, we need this guy to guard LeBron. We need him on the court, or whoever it is. So that's just how I just took my career,
I always liked y'all play, but the bond that you, DRose, Joakim, and that team had together, still to this day, when I see y'all be around each other, interact, man, it just always bring back the memories of how close. To win in this league, you got to have some type of bond and some type of camaraderie with the team. But just speak on the bond that you have with that team, with Joakim, and once young DRose got there, and just how y'all just became brothers for life.
Nah, definitely, man. We're so blessed. I think, I've had so many good teammates, but I always tell people, now when you look back, the closest people that you are to are really people that are similar, that bring the best out of you. And, with Joe, Derrick, Ben, Tabo, all these guys, Kirk, Noach, The one thing that I would say, and I'll give John Paxson the credit, he really recruited on character more than just skills. And I think because of our character, we were okay with success being for all of us. We became such a caring team. And like, for example, when Derrick's MVP year, I remember 30 or 40 games into it. I remember being hurt. I remember I had a fractured thumb. But everyone knew that Derrick had a chance to win the MVP. And I always tell people this: what's so crazy was I became an All-Star that year, obviously because the team we were winning so many games. But honestly, I was so driven at delivering Derrick being MVP, and that was, you could be hurt, whatever, but all of us, setting screens, getting this Derrick in the fourth quarter, giving Derrick the ball. Cutting, moving, whatever, win games, win as many as we can so we could win the MVP. And I remember at the end of the season, 10 games to go, and we're like, yo, we got to win these games. If we have the best record, he'll win it. And that's the kind of relationship that we ended up having on and off the court, just caring, and that comes with character.
Talk about how y'all team was and how the city responded to when y'all drafted him. Because, I'm a Chicago boy. I know I'm watching the Post. I'm watching how he captivated and how the city, he really had the pulse of the city with him. Like, can you talk about just how that experiencing and watching that, how somebody could really move a whole city the way he had them rocking with him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was different, man, to be from Chicago and not only to be as good as DRose was, to be the youngest MVP, but what's so important is just Derrick as a human being. It just changed everything. He influenced so many people. His game was so aggressive and so explosive, but his personality was so humble. Derrick would do an interview and give credit to everybody, talk about how thankful he is for every opportunity he's been given. And he was so competitive, but you could never see that because of just how he carried himself. But he was the best example for that city, not only because of his talent, but just the way he was raised. And that's credit to, his mom and his brothers and everybody around him. They just did whatever it took to make sure that Derrick is protected. And Derrick did whatever he can so he could deliver. He knew all the stigma and all the stereotyping that comes from, being from Chicago on the South Side and so on, but he didn't care. He represented the city and he put the city on. Just going back, man, there's nothing like the Michael Jordan era. The DRose era, I always say this, man, the DRose era was something special that a lot of people would never get to experience. And I was just, so blessed and happy to be a part of that.
Nah, that's a fact, man. For that kid, he lived the dream that every kid from Chicago wanted to dream, but he took it to the highest point. You know what I'm saying? To be the MVP as the youngest dude, and he doing it at the crib. Like, it was dope to see, man. It was one of the dopest things to watch from afar. To how he came from the city. You know how it is. We heard about him when he was at Simeon, when he was coming up, when he was becoming the guy. And then he was the guy. It was him and Sharon Collins when Collins went to Kansas and he went to Memphis. And then it was like DRose. And it was like when he arrived, it was over with. And it was like he fit the bill and showed up and showed the hell out.
Yeah, D is special, man. And D was so good. He was so good even in practices. I just remember every move he made, we would look at each other like, yo. And there's so many games that he just won for us without us even doing nothing. Like the fourth quarter, it would just turn it on. And you could see, and we all saw it, certain guys when you just, when they're in the zone, nobody want to face him. And you just knew when DRose, those years that he was just on. And I always say, man, it's just a blessing. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's path is different. But to get to experience such a talent and such a character, it's something special, man.
Mm-hmm. When you heard that you made the All-Star, NBA All-Star team, and when you walked in that locker room and you see the LeBron jerseys, the D-Wades, you see these guys who've been making All-Stars in there, you on the top floor now. You know what I'm saying? This is a room you ain't been in. The earth smell different and stuff like that. So just tell us about that experience.
Nah, it was crazy, man. At some point during the season, 30 games in or 40 games in, you start to get the feeling like, yo, I got a chance to make it.
Yeah.
There's some guys in the league that just automatic.
Right.
I always tell people, man, some people have a green light where, they'll shoot their way till they get their points. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So when everything was going well, and I remember, like I told you, I fractured my thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And it was part of it. It was like, yo, I'm just going to keep going because I don't know if I'll ever get this opportunity again. I want to be an all-star.
Right.
And I remember being selected, and I just couldn't believe it, and going into the all-star game and seeing who's there and whatnot. And you start to, take it all in, but you start to realize this is something that cannot be taken away. Once you make that all-star, you got that jersey, you made the team and so on. But now you're just like, man, this is, when you look back, you're like, man, I'm so thankful for how hard I worked, and, the blessing and everything. But for me, I'm humble enough to realize this wasn't a given. It wasn't, I'm not one of those guys who every year your name is called out. I was sitting there in front of TNT, just nervous. And as soon as they said your name, just excited and happy. So I'm always thankful for that, man.
Straight up.
When they come to you with the contract extension and you about to get that 6 years with that beep, beep, with that, you know what I'm talking about, that Brinks truck, how did that feel, you know what I'm saying, knowing that you didn't, like you say, 10 years, like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, you was just in Egypt, and now you about to get the big boy bag.
Nah, it's insane, man. You know how it is when you get that big contract. It's like you do your best. Honestly, you do your best to stay humble and realize how hard you work to get that. I remember signing that first contract, and just knowing that, yo, I'm good. But don't lose who you are or how hard you worked.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to become somebody you're not. And I remember, with all the money that I was making and everything, I kept saying, I can't change. I can't, who I am has been working for me. This is who I am. This is how I want to represent myself. And I just kept, I kept those things separate. I kept going to the gym. I kept working. I didn't allow all that. But I knew once that money is on your name and everyone knows your salary, that love is not the same. It's easy to love you when you're not making that much and you're working hard and everyone is like, you know what, he works hard, he plays hard, but you could work as hard as you can. If you ain't delivering and you're getting that money, that love is not there.
Yeah. I know how competitive you are. You always accept the challenge on defense. To hear your peers reward you by making all defense, you made the all-star team that year, and then you cap it off at the end by making all defensive team. Mm-hmm. Did it feel like your peers and everybody appreciated what you bring to the table? Like you say, you're not the one that's scoring all the points, but you're doing all the things that sometimes it might not even show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah, those are the best awards, man. Any award that you get from teammates, not the press voting and so on, but when coaches vote for All-Star or when players vote for categories, those are the things that, you walk around proud. You go to the next game knowing that these guys voted for you. I remember winning the humanitarian award. And what made me so happy winning that award was because that was an award that it wasn't about my talent. It was just about who I am as a person. And that was something that I can, give back to the way I was raised and so on. So those kind of awards are always the one that, as you get older and you look back, those are really the awards that matter. Not so much of, the other awards. It's the awards of those are your peers, the same people that saw you working hard and so on that rewarded you that.
You coming to America, when you playing basketball, LeBron was there. Like, I want to go back to those series that y'all had, because y'all had some heated series between him being in Cleveland and when he was with the Heat. Just talk about those battles, and like everybody knew,
Nobody
LeBron
go to Cleveland.
Yeah, LeBron was top of the league, but it was like y'all was meeting them with that aggression. You had somebody chirping, you had Joakim over there waving, like, get that out of here, man. Nobody, and y'all, it was like, this is the confrontation. You know how we are. We want to see this. So it was like, how was it to be locked in those wars, especially like y'all got multiple playoff series to go to that, like, this is where it's like, okay, this is a real beef a little bit. So how was it for y'all to be in them trenches?
Man, I wanted, and Joe said this, it's the same here. I wanted to beat LeBron so bad. I knew how good LeBron is and how good he made his team. But, even during the season, you kind of circled that game. And like you said earlier, as a competitor, I knew that everybody was watching LeBron. It wasn't about, whoever LeBron played, people go to watch LeBron. It's just, that's who LeBron was. So for me, I made it, I always wanted to give him a hard time, no matter what it was. And I wasn't a guy who's going to talk trash or do anything. I just bothered him. I just, every shot he took out there, whether he saw me or not, I worked so hard to try to, give ourselves a chance to win. And, it goes back to, I always felt like we were going to get one with the Derrick injury and so on. But, when I think back, you start to realize how good he was. And as talented as LeBron is, I always tell people this story. I was doing in 2012, we did a McDonald's commercial together, me and LeBron, before the Olympics. And LeBron had his trailer and I had my trailer. I was there with my brother, and LeBron was there with like 15 or 16 people. He had a whole entourage in there, right? So every time we would shoot, a skit, whatever, for 30 minutes, and they would give us a break, I would go in my trailer and I would just sit there. And then I was just like, yo, I wonder what he's doing. Like, all those people in there, I hear the music, whatever. I'm just in there with my brother, quiet, nothing. I go in his trailer, man, and it changed my whole career. I see this guy. He had his trainer. He had a massage therapist. He had all the bands.
So it wasn't the entourage.
Yeah, he's actually working. Yeah. He's actually working on his body. And at that time, I thought I worked hard, but I wasn't working smart. I was just working, but this guy is using his time wisely, and it changed my whole approach. I started getting a chef, I started getting a trainer. I started taking it so seriously, and that led to my all-star years and playing all those minutes and staying healthy. If you look back at my career before that, I was getting a lot of injuries, and later on I turned it around, and it was really part of learning how to take care of my body. I wasn't taught that. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't, do any of that.
And they wasn't giving no secrets out in the NBA and telling you to do that. You had to figure it out yourself.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of my career, after that, I'm traveling with a whole bag that's just with bands and foam roll and massage whatnot and ice bags and whatnot, because I started to take it serious. I wasn't doing that to begin with, So, as good as LeBron is and as talented as he is, people need to realize from day one, he had the knowledge of what it takes to be at his best. And that's why he's still playing today,
Yeah. I definitely say that about LeBron. Like I always say, like, man, I was 3 years in the league and he came in and he was so much more mature than me. The way he carried himself and what he was doing in the weight room and going to how he was going to the gym. I was putting work in, but not like this guy. For me to be 21, he coming into 18 and he's doing it already. It was like, man. And I see why he lasted so long.
No, definitely. Yeah. And now I tell all my, all the young guys that I train and so on, I can't just talk to you about putting the ball in a hoop or dribbling. It's all about how you maximizing the best of your talent. What are you doing to really reach the best of your talent? Because you can be talented enough to be in an NBA for a few years, but let's work on, being that star. Get every ounce out of it. I didn't have that. I was obviously talented. I just worked hard, but that knowledge came late. But I'm glad at least I got the knowledge. Now if I look back, I would start that from my, from my rookie year right away. I would have
be world different.
Yeah, you rewind it. I would sleep and eat in the weight room in the gym.
Exactly.
I've been like Kobe, man. You wouldn't see me until it was game time. I'm worked up.
Nah, seriously, man. Seriously, that's how we all see it now.
Tell me this: you there when the young Jimmy Butler walked through the door? What was your first impressions of Jimmy Buckets?
Nah, Jimmy, I knew. It was at the time. I had Griff was my teammate, Adrian Griffin. And I remember being young and Griff being my vet. Griff was always, in the gym working out. He'll come in at night and all that, and he would just kind of, teach me all these little tricks. And I appreciated it so much. When Jimmy came on board, Adrian Griffin became our assistant coach. And I remember Adrian just being on me like, yo, you got to take this young guy under your wing. And for me, I just saw Jimmy was so talented, and I knew I could see it in practice. He's matching up against me, how he moves, the way he's guarding me. And I remember I would go to Tibbs and I would tell him, like, yo, we need to play this young guy. Jimmy needs to play. I remember going to Tibbs and telling him, yo, this kid needs to start. He's that good. And it took Tibbs a while, but Jimmy really bought into it, and he worked so hard. Jimmy is in the gym. He's getting shots up. We're going to the game. He's not playing a single minute. He's back at the arena. He's working out. He's running. And for me, I knew, I didn't know that he would be this good, but I knew that he's going to be in the league for a long time.
How was it playing in the Olympics with Great Britain?
I always wanted to be an Olympian. And at the time, I couldn't really represent Sudan. We were one country, but we were going through a civil war. Same war and the same regime that made me flee my country, because of their own beliefs and how they wanted to separate the country between Muslims and Christians, and Arabs and Africans. So right away, I remember I said I didn't want to represent Sudan. And I went, when I was in England, I went to the national team and I told them, I said, look, I was taken in by this country. Y'all gave me an opportunity. The best thing that I could do is work as hard as I can and play every summer and try to really take basketball to a different level in this country. And every summer while I was in the league, I would go back and play with the English national team until we made it to the Olympics. And I remember I just felt like I gave something back to a country that gave me an opportunity. And that's really how I felt about it. I represented it because, one, I didn't want to represent Sudan because of what was going on. And two, I wanted to be an Olympian. And three, I just wanted to give back to them.
Your last year with the Bulls, DRose was hurt and you was the leading scorer. Did you feel like once DRose got hurt, they kind of gave up on that core?
I'm going to tell you something I never shared. And this is really why it went the way it went. If you remember that year, we went to the playoffs, the year that DRose got hurt. We were playing Brooklyn, and there was a flu going on with the team. And one of the doctors suggested that, because my fever was so high, they suggested that I had meningitis. And out of nowhere, they just sent me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, they diagnosed me wrong, and they ended up saying that my fever was too high and whatnot, and they ended up giving me a spinal tap surgery.
What?
Now, yeah, this is what happened. This is how I missed the playoffs that year. So I go and get a spinal tap, knowing that I don't know what a spinal tap is. But the doctor told me that, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a procedure to see if you have meningitis because this is serious, whatever. Mind you, other people in the team had the flu. Anyway, they proceed and just go on with it anyway. I ended up missing the playoffs. And what happened was that year, there was a dispute going on with the NBPA and so on about me suing the Bulls because of what took place. But I knew that if I sued the Bulls, I would either not play basketball ever again in order to win the case to prove that things didn't go well and this could be a career ending. But I would hoop. So I said, yo, I'm not suing anyone. I'm just gonna hoop. I'm just gonna come back. I came back that year, and nothing was the same. It just felt like, every game I was given an opportunity to prove that I'm healthy. And as the year went on, like you said, I'm the leading scorer. I'm averaging almost 20 points and so on. The next thing I know is I'm traded to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was, and I still believe that move was made really because I've played enough games to show that, I was healthy and I could
Healthy enough to play.
continue. And
Yeah.
that's
Now they
really
can't come
where,
to
and
you
that's
no
when
more.
the team started being broken up. And one by one, after I left, you started seeing people being moved, tips being moved, and so on. But when I look back, and you guys notice any team that wins the league, they got to be together for a few years, and those, the best GMs and the best presidents in the NBA, they understand that. If you look at San Antonio, if you look at Detroit Pistons, if you look at the Lakers, if you look at Golden State, you go on and go on, you got to keep the core. You can't expect to just because of one injury, you just let everything go. And I think that's where we went wrong. I think once Derrick got hurt, they let go of the rope, not knowing that, even with Derrick returning, he needed us around him. He needed that, he needed that core that were with him to rock with him, because we would believe in him no matter what. And like Joe said, we were on each other. I remember, Derrick with his injuries, we kept, Derrick, you got to get on a rehab. You got to change your diet. You got to eat better, because we cared. It wasn't just about hooping. It was just, get the best you can out of your career.
You didn't play 10 years there. Now you getting traded away. Like when you look back at it, like you said, nothing could touch the MJ era, obviously. But like to know that y'all have a era, you know what I'm saying? That y'all have an era in a team's, in an organization's history, and that there's a firm era that the fans in the city gonna always remember y'all and respect what y'all did. Like, how do that feel to know that y'all impacted the city and impacted a town like Chicago?
And he left being fourth all time in scoring.
Yeah, and like this a storied franchise that's got championships and titles, and y'all got big time bricks in the foundation, and y'all gonna be, remembered there forever.
Yeah, nah, honestly, man, it's so amazing. I never, like you just said, fourth in score. I never thought I would ever even be in the top 20 with the Bulls. That was never a thought. I'm even surprised when I hear about it. But it's a special time, man. I just really, I wish we would have won. But at the same time, I'm just so thankful. It's almost like, okay, I'm so thankful for playing for that city. I'm so thankful for the teammates that I had. You don't want to be greedy. It's like you're given so much.
Yeah.
Think back, we're just programmed to just be in this mindset of, you didn't win a championship, therefore it wasn't a success. But in reality,
it was.
In reality, there was so much, not only myself and the Chicago Bulls, but also, like we said earlier, Derrick Rose's influence with his, personality, and Joe Kim and what he's doing with the city now, and all that stuff. That's all part of whatever my personality was, whatever Joe's personality was, Kirk, and so on. We kind of we kind of rubbed on each other to be better human beings for the city, and that will live on forever.
Absolutely.
In 2015, you played with Team Africa in the NBA's African exhibition game where you had Giannis, you had Serge, Dikembe, Hakeem. Just tell us that experience of how dope that was to just do that and just have that exhibition game there.
Nah, it's insane, man. Because when I remember in 2010, when I was in the league, I went back to Africa with Amadou.
Amadou.
Yeah, with Amadou Fall. And I remember Masai was with us. And what we did was we just did camps. We would pick 5 countries in Africa, and we would spend the summer there. I was going to Rwanda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, like whatever. We would just pick 5 and we would just go. And at the time, it started small, but it started to grow. The NBA started joining. They started to see the potential of what we're doing. So, to fast forward, and in 2015, to be able to play in the continent, it just felt so good. It just felt like, for me, growing up, being from Africa and bringing the game back and all these stars coming and playing against the world, it just felt like I'm a part of, something that can change the narrative and motivate players to actually believe that they can do it. As a kid, I would never ever get an opportunity to see an NBA player, and all of a sudden, everyone is coming back to the continent to play. It's special.
That's crazy for y'all to have like the old and the new, to have Dikembe and Akeem out there with you and Serge, you know what I'm saying?
Giannis.
The new area, the Giannis, like that's just crazy. I know that just was a dope event for Africa.
No, it changed a lot, man. I always used to tell people this. When I first came in the league, being an African player, I always felt like, I would look around the league and so on, and every other African player was a big man. And the way it bothered me, like, we would sit down and tape, and some people, sometimes they don't even know what they're saying. And you would watch and you just like, they'll be scouting an African player and they'll just be like, yeah, he's raw. He's athletic. He's raw. And it bothered me. And I'm just like, yo, African players can be skilled. Like we can dribble, we can do that. But now, in 2015 and all that, and seeing Giannis, seeing Siakam and Embiid, and now when you look at the league and how many African players are there, it just shows you that all these little things matter. All these things can influence, players, whether it's in the U.S., whether it's in Africa, whatever it is. When players or when, kids feel that they can reach you or they can see you or they can be like you, you change the narrative.
You signed with the Heat. How did you adapt to Heat culture, and how did you feel? Like, how was your time in Miami? I had the 1 year there. I know you had a couple. How was your time with Heat culture?
Man, I loved it. I'm still, right now I'm still in Miami. I live in Miami.
See, hey, look, Florida boy. I tell people all the time, when people come to the Florida to play and stuff, we don't really leave. We do not really leave. We stay.
It's different, man. Before I came to the Heat, I hated the Heat because of G Wade and LeBron. I hated it. Yeah. I remember with Joe's interview with you guys, it's like LeBron, anytime we want to win, he's there. He shut down the East for so long, and Dwayne Wade, the same thing. So before I came to the Heat, I was actually worried about that. I was like, yo, I've been battling with these guys. I don't know. But once I signed, man, Dwayne Wade is one of the best teammates, UD. The culture was just so dope in terms of it's a family atmosphere. It really reminded me a lot of Duke. It's like a brotherhood where, Spo, Pat Riley, everyone in the organization is always checking on you. They make life easier in Miami. Anywhere you want to go. So for me, I ended up staying here. And obviously the weather, like you said, and I always tell people, man, I ended up in Chicago, in one of the coldest cities. Being from Africa, that wasn't easy.
That's crazy.
I found my way back to the Heat.
Yeah. This Orlando be doing this right, man. Like still wearing shorts when it's cold. It's cold back east.
That's what I said.
Cold in the Midwest.
I went from Miami to Orlando and then they never leave. So since I came to Florida, I ain't left.
Florida's dope, man. It's dope. The weather is a big part of everything.
Yo, Heat playoff debut, you scored 31 points. How was that?
I was when I think back, the way things worked out for me with the Heat, when I first came in, I was trying to figure it out. I was really trying to figure it out. And I remember sitting with Spo, and I've never had a coach tell me, I want you to shoot 7 threes in a game. Every game, I just want you to shoot 7 threes. I've never done that. I always tell people when I go back to my career, there's one time I averaged 19 points and I shot 8 threes all season and made 1. When I was with the Bulls. So I was always, you guys know mid-range was everything. I just wanted to get to my spot and pull up. So when Spo told me, I want you to shoot 7 threes, and every time you catch it in the corner, let it go. And that was right before the playoffs, a month or so into it. So I went into that playoff so confident. And, when you watch the game today, And, guys are so skilled now. I'm not taking anything away, but if you look back at the way we play, guys, and if you were told, go in a game and shoot 7 threes, you make 4 of those and you're coming out with 12 points. Now, you need 2 layups here and a couple fast break and it changes the whole game. So it made the game so much easier for me. So I always look back. The easiest time I had in my career was with the Heat, where I was working hard, but they made the game so easy for me. I didn't have to chase anything. It was just, let it go. Just trust it. Work on your game and let it go. And that's the first time I ever had any coach tell me that, and it made it so much easier for me.
How was it signing to the Lakers after, right after Kobe retired? Like, what was it like walking into there post Kobe? Like, especially
and going from what you went through to get back to getting a big contract.
Nah, it's insane, man. I had
4 years, 72. Nice little pocketbook money, little pocketbook.
Yeah, listen, it came with a lot of heat, with a lot of pressure, and unnecessary things uncalled for. But to think back, like you said, I played with the Heat. The Heat gave me an opportunity. I had one of my best playoffs. I was playing so well, and I remember I wanted to stay in Miami. But Pat Riley kept it real, and Pat just said, "Yo, I can't pay you that much money.
Yeah,
you gotta take that money." And for me, that was so real. So I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? I might never ever get this opportunity again. But my conversation with going to LA was to go there to hoop. I had a mindset of, now I'm getting paid. I'm going to, the lights and whatnot, and I wanted to, make it happen. So I took the chance and I took the money, but I never knew exactly what their plan was, or what the plan was not what I was told. And that kind of changed, how I looked at the league, my love for the game, and so on. And I really mean it. I was getting all this money, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel the same. And what I mean by that is I wanted to play. I wanted to be a part of, the team. I wanted to change, but I was told we're going in a different direction. I'm not dressing up and whatnot. And, and I couldn't.
They basically told you can go home and we're going to send you your checks, basically.
Honestly, that's what it was. And I always tell people there was a lot of conversation where 1 month into it, it's like, yo, we're only going to play the young guys. A month into it, it's like, yo, we need you to get in shape, practice, and so on. And I would get in shape, practice, and then it would be a sit down and be like, oh, actually, we decided we're going to play the young guys. And it just kept going. So 2 years in, the second year, I was like, you know what? I never want to play here. And I remember it was just like, yo, you're gonna play, you're not gonna play, you're gonna play, and my agent is trying, but you gave me so much money, and now you're not playing me. Why would anyone else take that contract? You got to let me play for people to see. But I was never allowed to play.
I could never understand why teams do that. There's so many examples of teams signing a guy, whether it's for a lot or a little money, but bringing a new player to your team and then telling him one thing, and then it's like, why the hell did you bring me here if you didn't want me to play like this? Like you said, it's a month into this thing and y'all telling me this bullshit now? Like, bro, it's so many examples of that. Whether it's the management ain't on the same page with the coach, and then they done brought somebody who, like, bro, y'all got to get that shit together. Like, y'all need to be in sync on that decision.
Yeah, I tell the young guys all the time, don't let the politics or the business take the love of the game out of it, because once you let the politics and the business take your love, it just adds on to it. Like being in Portland and doing all that, man, I didn't really love the game how I used to love it no more, because it was like I was dealing with all these politics and the business part of it, and you can get caught up in that. So I tell the young guys, man, fight as much as you can to never lose the love of the game, because you're going to go through a lot of stuff dealing with the front office, with the politics and the business of it.
No, definitely. I always tell people, man, I've learned this throughout my career. And obviously everyone could, rank them differently. But I always say the 3 worst thing, beside injury, but the 3 worst things that can happen for somebody's career. Number 1 is obviously having a coach that doesn't like you for some reason. Forget your game, but your personality or whatever, or the way you talk or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's number 2 is when a GM that, drafted you loses their job. Because when a GM drafts you, for them to be a good GM, they need to let you play and show the world that they got the right pick.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they do whatever it is. And then the third one is when you get traded. Because when you get traded, you're really an experiment. You're not really my draft pick. So if you get traded to whatever team it is, if there's a young guy ahead of you, even if you're better, we're going to make sure that that young guy is it because he's the future and that's who we drafted. So for me, whatever took place with LA and so on, it's okay. I've learned a lot, but I always look back. I was so lucky to be with one organization for 10 years. Think about it. Like, not a lot of people could tell you, like, I never knew what everybody is going through until 10 years into the league. Like, I never knew till I went to Cleveland and I was like,
it's always the first trade. It's always the first trade.
This team just sent me, I gave them everything. I played through injuries, whatever. You just send me away. And now you're telling me I got to get a plane tomorrow. I got to look for an apartment. And now I'm in a new organization. It's like, but it took me 10 years to experience that. But I had so many teammates come into the locker room. I've sat there in Chicago, from the age of 18 till 28. I've seen people come in and leave, but I've
come and go.
Yeah, but I've never experienced what they're dealing with, looking for an apartment, looking for a house, family moving, so on. I just stayed in one place. So at the same time, with everything that happened, I've been so blessed. I don't want to ignore, I don't want to dwell on what didn't go right at the end because a lot went right for me to even get there.
Yeah,
definitely.
How was it, after that Lakers stunt, after the Lakers had you hostage in the closet? How was it to get to Minnesota and you start seeing familiar faces? You there with Jimmy, you there with DRose, Taj, you got Coach Tibbs. You know what I'm saying? You get some of that home cooking a little bit back, even though it's a different city. But, just being around your guys and guys that you can relate to and have them talks with, whether you're playing minutes or not, it's like, man, just being on the team with these guys is just a relief.
Nah, definitely. I think I needed it. When I was in LA, it was just a lot going on, but I just didn't feel like I was a part of it. And, obviously this was publicized and social media and so on, everyone talking about what you're making. But there's nothing you could do about it. I didn't have an opportunity to let me fight back or whatever. It was just my words, their word, and then you decide whatever you want to do. But when I got to Minnesota, honestly, I felt like I was back in the family. But that's when I realized I got to go.
Well,
that's really when it hit me because when I was in LA, I was just practicing. And you know how it is in practice. I was holding my own, running up and down, getting my jump shots up, doing my
you fighting.
I felt like I still had it. But, being 2 years without playing in the best league in the world, and now I'm in Minnesota, I'm showing up at practice and I'm just like, yo, it's not the same. I had to be honest with myself and just be like, listen, get out now. You've had the blessing to be paid, whatever. I'm not chasing money.
Yeah.
Just be humble enough and go do something else with your life and be okay with it. And I really, that 1 year just allowed me to be okay with everything.
How was it to say you could sign that last contract with the, the 1 day contract with the Bulls and kind of close it out, still a Chicago Bull?
Yeah, I thank them for that. But, I called the Bulls and I called Pax and I told him, I said, look, this is really how it should be done. I felt like, just for the future for everybody else, all players, to be honest, they should be able to pick the one organization that drafted them or they felt like they were home and just sign them for 1 day. It's no money, it's no nothing. Just let me, in Wikipedia, when you look me up, whatever, just let that be my last stop. And, they were okay with it and they said, let's do it and so on. And I'm just so happy that I did it because even now, when I look back, I always tell people I ended my career where I started it. That just allows me to feel like, Chicago is the one place that, deserves to be my last team.
That's dope.
Watching DRose's career and the injuries he went through, like people don't know when with these injuries, the mental strain is on you for rehabbing and trying to get back even close to where you was before. For him to fight them many years to get back to, to still have a decent career or so forth on, I feel like he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if they'll let him be a Hall of Famer or he'll get selected to. I still feel like DRose a Hall of Famer of what he did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I honestly feel that DRose, first of all, should be a Hall of Famer. DRose jersey should be retired in Chicago as soon as possible.
Easy.
And I think that will push that because as Q, in Chicago what DRose means to that city. Not just forget basketball, but just, where he comes from. As an example, like you showed the money earlier, me being on the money. DRose deserves something like that in Chicago. And the best thing to do is that number one jersey because, I always say this, the thing with retiring a jersey, it's not just about how good you were. It takes you back to, who the person is. That number one, why did he wear one? Why was he drafted one? Being from Chicago, being from Simeon, what he did, being the youngest MVP ever.
Yes.
Being from that city. I think that alone, is just the legacy. But to go back to what you were saying with the injuries, he's, to me, is such a special talent. It's such a special talent that doesn't come around often. And we all recognize that. And that's why he was so, good at playing for so long. Because even DRose's 60% is still a lot of people's 100%.
Trust me. You somebody's got a crazy real estate portfolio. Like, when did you start getting into real estate, and what made you do that? Start, using your money and buying real estate and taking that path.
Yeah, no, it started with a friend of mine in London. Just teaching me what real estate really is. Money working for you. Purchasing something and then, income coming in. I always tell people if you sit me down with real estate moguls or whatever, I can't hold my own in that conversation. I didn't go to school for it and none of that. But I had a passion, I'm not a flashy guy. I don't have cars. I don't have anything, but I was always into, owning a nice house or owning something or, being proud of something, making something for me. And that's really how it started. It just started by, okay, let's, get this house, let's flip it, let's rent it out. And then you start seeing what's coming in and then you get excited, you do something else and something else. And before you know it, your portfolio is growing and growing and growing. And, and even now back in Africa and the continent, I'm taking on the same thing, just trying to grow financially there, but also, being smart with it, not risking everything and not being stupid. And you're going to make mistakes no matter what, when it comes to real estate. It's not always going to go your way. So how do you minimize your risk? And how do you surround yourself with people that are doing the right things and they have the experience in it, But you're going to have to live with making mistakes until you get burned. You won't know how much it hurts. So you kind of just have to, if you're afraid of just like, going out there and trying it, you're going to hold yourself back and you will regret it, and that's really what happened with me with real estate. It was, taking chances and, some going your way and some not going your way, but just realizing that, you're putting your money in the right places where you won't be hurt that much.
I want to touch on this amazing summer that you just had with the South Sudan team. One thing I got to say, too, you boys was clean that first day on the flag day. You boys was clean. They put it on. Y'all boys was clean. But I just wanted you to tell us about the process of getting there, how hard them guys worked. Ivy, how great of a job he did, man. Of course, I was rooting for the USA team, but I was so proud of y'all, man, and just seeing the growth of y'all and seeing that not only 7-footers come out of Africa, you have skilled guys that can do all the stuff too, man. But just tell us about that whole thing and how much you invested in them guys and how much love they showed back of working hard and trying their best to do what they needed to do.
Nah, definitely. Just throughout my whole life, I always felt like I could never explain to people where I'm from if it's not a negative narrative. Like, for example, people were like, why were you in Egypt? And I'm just like, oh, because there was a war in my country. You turn on the news and there's people starving and there's, war and whatever. And I just felt like throughout my career, I always felt like there's so many South Sudanese, people that we're never in any conversation. We're never in no spotlight or nothing. And then it goes back to, basketball in Africa. What I talked about earlier, it's always big guys and so on. And, and as you get into the game, you realize that the talent is there, but what is actually missing? So when I retired, I just took it upon myself and I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and really focus on putting it out there to let people realize that we can compete with the rest of the world, but we can also be one of the best countries when it comes to basketball. And, we have so many athletes. And, just, being South Sudanese alone, the average height for my tribe is 6'4". You walk around, you got
That's
all
crazy.
these athletes, you got all these young guys who are very skilled, they could play. And this is all over the continent. So, so when I took that opportunity, I kept telling myself, what's missing is the resources, like we have the basketball knowledge, like you said, Royale Ivy came on board and we're teaching the right way. We got guys who could hoop, how do we get there? And it just went from, not being ranked in Africa to all of a sudden playing in Afro basket, all of a sudden getting out of there and making it to the World Cup. You go to the World Cup and all of a sudden you're making it to the Olympics. You get to the Olympics and you're playing the U.S. in the exhibition game, and everyone is talking about how you're going to lose by 40, 50. But the way everything went, honestly, it's almost like it's like a written story. Everything that came, whether it's negative or positive, I took it as an opportunity. Whatever it was an opportunity. And the way everything worked out, even the way the game went, to lose to the U.S. by one and then being in the same group, we got so much coverage that it changed the whole narrative. A lot of people didn't, a lot of people didn't even know South Sudan is a country. They just thought it's the south of Sudan. So now we're able to actually walk around, raise our flag, and people are like, yo, y'all good at basketball. This is finally, for the first time ever, someone could say, y'all actually doing something right. And that makes us, it makes us happy, and that's part of changing the narrative.
All right, well, y'all did it this summer, man. Like I say, I'm super proud of y'all team, how y'all represented yourself, and like I say, them boys put that thing on. Them suit, whoever designed them joints they had on that first day, man, they killed it with them. They look real good in them.
Nah, it's dope, man, and we did it on purpose with the details. We wanted to wear black, and when we play, we wear black because the word Sudan is in the Bible is the land of the blacks. The original land of the blacks, and the word Sudan comes from the word Aswad in Arabic, which means black. And being, the darkest humans in the world, we really wanted to embrace that. So we wanted to wear that.
D-Miles can hang with y'all on that tip. You feel me?
No, hey, I'm cool with that.
D-Miles with us.
You gotta stick together, man. Stick together.
His nickname the blackest one, so he fit right on in.
Yeah, we sticking together. That's why I was hyped.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
You talked about you was playing for Great Britain and you didn't really want to represent. How did you get to the point to where you was able to reconcile things and then get to the point to where you can do all of the work that you're doing for your country and get them to be a actual Olympic team and do all of these things? How did you get reconnected to the country?
In 2011, South Sudan got their independence from Sudan. So we became two separate countries. So when that happened, we were able to, be our own country, be able to put our culture first and so on, be able to express ourselves, the freedom of expressing ourselves, not to be oppressed and so on. So finally, we have our own country where we can showcase, what we can do and who we are as humans. For the majority of our life, since the existence of Sudan, we haven't really been given that opportunity to show the world what South Sudan really is. So in 2011, and I always tell people this, I was actually playing for the Bulls. I remember when I was playing for the Bulls, in order for us to win our election and become independent, I did this thing where I donated a lot of my money to get buses in all the areas where there's refugees, South Sudanese refugees, whether it was in Chicago, Michigan, Australia, Egypt, anywhere. I spend a lot of money to get buses to take people from the refugee camps or whatever area they lived in to take them to the voting polls in order for us to vote and become our own country. So I took a part of that. So I always felt like if I took a part of that in 2011, going down the line as my life keeps going, I have to do something to keep putting South Sudan in a map. And be a part of, changing direction from being Sudan to being South Sudan. So when I retired, I looked at basketball as an opportunity to, keep driving that force and keep motivating the youth to be proud of who we are. And also for us to show the rest of the world that we finally arrived. So that all that stuff are really part of why I took this direction with the national team.
You had DRose come over there and would he practice or something like that with the team?
Yeah, DRose came to the continent. So we went to Senegal. DRose bought his high school team, Simeon, and we went to Senegal with Joe Kim. And DRose actually, we did an exhibition game. DRose was out there in Senegal for a week, working out, getting ready for the season. We were out there mentoring the young kids at Seed Academy, which is Amadou's academy. And they were able to get in games, and it was really good for all the players and all the kids from Chicago to come to Africa and get to experience the culture and to see the continent, but also to really realize that we have so much in common, so many similarities, and every kid that came was so happy and it changed their life, and that's something that we want to continue doing as we go on, and not just Senegal. We want to do it all over the continent, give an opportunity to connect the dots, between the youth here in the U.S. And the youth in the continent.
How did that make you feel when you see guys like DRose and Joakim and just other people that we might not know about reaching out and want to help you, use your resources and everything to come over there and just show love to South Sudan and to Africa, and more people are more interested in going to Africa. I know Africa is on my bucket list. I've never been, but that's one of the places I always wanted to go. But, to see these guys now just really interested in, helping you use your resources to come over there and help out a little bit more.
No, it's amazing. We live at such a unique time, man. I really believe that what life is now is going to be completely different in the future, obviously. But, for our kids, the way we see the continent right now and the way we interact with, people in the continent and so on, that's all going to change. It's going to be so normal, for your kids to be in a continent multiple times. That's going to change. We're just the bridge right now where it's happening, whether it's DRose or myself or whatever going back or the game that we had. All that is new to everyone now. But with the way technology is now, the way social media and the way the world is moving, the world is becoming one. And the continent it's not going to become this unknown continent to a lot of people. As we keep on going, our kids are going to be interacting in a continent like it's nothing. They're going to be looking back and saying, man, Pops, you never went to Africa. How come? For them, it's going to be totally different. And that's just, so it's better for us to start now. So, move on the process so we get to experience it while we're still here.
Tell me this. It became, like public knowledge that you was really coming out of pocket for the whole team, renting out gyms, buses, hotels, food, doing all these things to make everything work. After everything that, after the successes you guys had and everything you've done, have you been getting people coming out trying to assist you guys and provide some of those resources that you were doing straight out of pocket, and you getting some relief with that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, I wish that story never came out. It just felt like one of those, I really never did it so people know about it. I just did it because I really believe that, like what you said, people will come. And I always, put this hashtag build it and they will come. Yeah. I just always felt like with success comes a lot of attention, and now, we have a sponsor, Peak is sponsoring us. We have, multiple sponsors on board. There's people that are trying to build, practice facility or a stadium. We're working on our first indoor stadium. Believe it or not only are we number one in Africa and we made it to the World Cup and the Olympics, but we don't have a single indoor court.
That's when I saw that story. That was crazy. I said, that's insane. No indoor courts at all. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're building our first one now that hopefully will be done in a few months. And that will be historic. But, when you think about it, to be able to accomplish those things and you don't even have that.
Have the resources, have the stuff. So
we haven't even scratched the surface. And this is why I'm so excited at how fast this has come, because, it drew a lot of attention and we'll get, and it'll bring a lot of help. But it also, for those who don't believe, because we've been saying it for years, that the talent is there. What's missing is just the resources and the facility. Now people can actually be like, yeah, actually it's true. Look at that. Look how fast. I took over 3.5 years, no program, no federation, no national team. In 3.5 years, you're playing the best team in the world in an exhibition game in the O2 Arena with 22,000, and you almost win.
Yeah, hold your own in the pool round and go to the first round. Like, hey, that's big time, man.
Yeah, nice. It really happened so fast, but I'm so happy because it's what I've been saying. It's what we all been saying. The talent is there. It's just the opportunity.
Well, you got another believer. I'm believing in y'all guys, man, and I'm rooting for y'all guys. One of the other things I want to touch on is, like, man, when me and Q got to the league, it was a lot of veterans that embraced us, but one of the key veterans that embraced us that we always loved his smile and the way he was Dikembe Mutombo. Ever since we got into the league, he Richardson, and he called Q
Miles.
Richardson, he called me Miles, and he always showed us love no matter where we was or where we was at. Always loved playing against him.
We met him before we ever played.
Yeah, we met him before we even played a game.
That's old Summer Groove. 2 weeks
after
getting drafted.
Been that. Yeah, it always been that with him, with us. I just want to know, he impacted our lives in so many ways of just him being him. I just want to know how R.I.P. Dikembe Mutombo, how he impacted your life and what he meant to you in your life and you coming up.
Yeah, man. I really mean this. Mutombo, forget basketball for a second. As a human being, I don't think there's anyone better. And what I mean by that is just his heart for what he wanted to do and to help people was bigger than anything else, and nothing can change that. Like, when I say that the guy's building hospital, he's building schools, but he's spending hours and hours with, whether it's presidents or so on, flying from one place to place, all for the sake of helping people. And I always tell people this: what Africans are today, the African celebrities, the African athletes, right? There's a way that we carry ourselves, and a big part of it is because guys like Mutombo who came before us. And why I say that is because Mutombo was the one guy who, even if you want to crack jokes on him, he turned it into such an humble way to even whether you mean to be, rude or whatever, he took that and turned it into a joke where you even felt, either embarrassed, or he made everyone else around him or around you make you feel like the idiot. And, whether it was, going to interviews and saying his whole name and embracing that culture and the way he talks with the accent and everything and laughing, that became who we are as Africans, So the next time we represented Africa, we were so proud because, Mutombo embraced that with no shyness, with no holding back, and now all of us, anytime you see anyone from Africa playing in the NBA, the first thing everyone asks is, what are they doing back home? That's not normal. People don't say that for European players. People don't say that from people from, Asia or South America. It's just, as soon as you see an African player, you're like, yo, what is he doing back home? That's not, you don't have to, but we made it a thing where, you're expected to do that. That's because of guys like Mutombo, because they just gave back automatically. So everyone became, you got to be in that category to be an African. And that's, and I'm proud of that, because now, any kid that comes up in the league, we look at them and we're like, yo, what are you doing back home? It's expected for you to help. It's not something that you don't have to do it, but this is who we are now,
Reach that hand back.
Definitely. And that's because of him. He made it a cultural thing.
Nah, Dikembe was one of one, Dikembe, bro.
Man.
One of one for
Dikembe,
sure.
Man. It's special one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah, you can't say Dikembe without smiling, man.
Right, yeah. I'm telling you, man.
You can't say it.
You never met a single person who would say anything bad about Dikembe.
Not at all, man. Not at all. You had a lot of teammates. You had a lot of guys that you played with, teammates, all of them in their prime. If you had to make an ultimate 5 out of all the teammates you ever had, you had to pick 4 other guys to make your ultimate 5 plus you, who would be them 4 other guys?
4 teammates.
4 teammates. Everybody in their prime.
Anywhere.
Any team you played for.
In the league.
That you done played with.
Yeah, my 1 would be DRose, obviously.
Most definitely.
The 2 would be D Wade.
Ooh.
Definitely D Wade. At the 3 that I played with.
You gotta put yourself in, so you either be the 3 or the 4.
So I'll be the 3. I'll be the 3 then. It makes it a lot easier for me. I'll be the 3.
Right.
At the 4, I would put Chris Bosh. At the 4, and at 5, I would put Joakim Noah.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice one right there.
That would be
I like that 5.
I like that. D-Rose, D-Wade, you.
Some shit, boy.
Bosh.
Listen, I hope some of my old teammates don't hit me up. Oh man, if you let me pick 10, I'll put them in. That's what I'm gonna do.
Hey, this is what I want to know. Like, I done heard you humble. You don't really do it. Like, you did something at some point. Now, I want to know when you got. Was it the early bag? Was it the late bag? Whenever you got comfortable with your bags, I want to know something that Luol Deng did to celebrate yourself. Whether it was a whip, whether it was a nice watch, whether it was what it might have been one of your. It can't be something you did for your mama or your daddy or something. Can't be no give back. Give back stuff. I'm talking about something you did for yourself.
Oh man, honestly, I can't. I don't have the one thing that I did was like, whether it's a car. I'm not into cars, so I never really bought.
Okay.
I had a Range Rover throughout my whole career.
Okay.
I would swap it, whatever. I wasn't really into cars. I wasn't into jewelry. I would say, honestly, the dumbest thing I did was literally just, get a bunch of my friends, and every summer we'll go fly somewhere and just act stupid. and spend a lot of money, which it was all fun.
Yeah.
But I've never really like I said, I spend a lot of money on houses, but that all worked out. But I've never really had the one thing that I'm kind of like, why did I buy that?
Oh no, that definitely counts, because you do the friend trip, that'd be a 30. Maybe a $40,000 trip. You got to get the hotel rooms. You got to get the flights, the food, all that. Yeah.
Hey, no, that's dope though, because you got dope memories out of that. They can't take them memories away. You feel me? So that's dope though. I can and trust me, what you saying that could be pricey at times. It could be pricey depending on where you're going, how many people going, accommodations and things like that. It could,
it adds up. It definitely, you don't want to take that away because there's so many memories. When you look back, it's also just like we're talking about taking care of our body. It's the other part that you're just like, you know what? I wish I would have did it a little different.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I just want to say, bro, man, we proud of what you doing, man, how you doing your thing. You ever need us knuckleheads to come around or anything, I definitely love a trip to Africa, but whatever you need though, bro, on Real Talk, man, we proud of you of what you doing, man, and how you doing it, your career, man. We've been big fans of it, man, and we appreciate you really rocking with us.
Nah, thank you guys, man. Nah, I really appreciate you guys having me. And I'll take you on that, D. I really, you know, we stay in touch. Let's work something out for, you know, for you guys to, in the continent, whether, you know, even now with BAL, with Basketball Africa League, and that's growing, you know, that's a perfect time to come and watch the finals and so on. But we'd love to have you there, man. And this is something I also want to do, especially with what I'm trying to build, having guys like you guys come around and, you know, give your experience and what you know and so on and be a part of it, man. That would be dope.
Yeah, man. We all got to stick together, man.
Whenever you need us, it's all love.
Nah, definitely, man.
Hey, man, this been super dope, man. We appreciate you, man. One-on-one, man. And brother Luol Deng in the building, man. Y'all tap in.
Nah, love, man. I appreciate you guys. Respect.